Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about housing and I guess disability, chronic illness. And this is kind of going to be partly like a story that I'm going to tell and also just my personal experience with looking for housing. So I live in California, so keep that in mind that I do live in Los Angeles County, and this is probably one of the most expensive places in the country to live in. But also, California is one of the wealthiest states in the nation. And I think that in comparison to many of the other states, because we are so wealthy, I think we tend to have more benefits, more state benefits than other states, which you'll find out isn't really that much. So I can only imagine what it's like to be in another state and look for housing as a disabled person. So I recently, in the last year, had started to look into it. My parents are retiring. My mom is retired. My dad has actually just basically let us know he's going to be retiring next year. And so, I have to start kind of thinking about the future and what that's going to mean for me. Ideally, I would like to stay in California. All my doctors are here, my medication is here. I have no idea what would happen if I went to another state. But the cost of living is incredible out here in California. I recently applied for an apartment. It was a studio apartment, and it was actually one of the cheapest prices that I could find, and it was, I believe, over 1,400 per month. So, unfortunately, even though I had already spoken to the leasing agent, and she, I talked to her about my situation. She said everything was going to be fine. I did apply and I got rejected. Unfortunately, my credit score was not good enough. And I did not know because I've always had amazing credit, but now because I don't have any debt, my credit has taken a really big hit. So I had not seen my credit score in years, and I was absolutely devastated to discover what how far it had fallen. So now I know that that option is off the table. So there is like what is it called when you can apply for like a stipend for public housing that is currently closed. I believe it's called Section 8. That's currently closed. It's been closed for a while. It's usually like a lottery. I applied for it once when it was open a few years ago. Didn't get it because it's basically like a lottery. So what are my options? So that leads me to a story, a very interesting story. So I was looking on Craigslist while I was looking for apartments. I went on Craigslist and I saw a listing for affordable apartments, very close by actually, and it was like I think it was something like 800 a month or something like that, which is pretty cheap for an apartment out here in Southern California. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go check it out. It's not too far, so I'm going to go take a look. I can drive there. Um, and so I went three separate times. I went the first time just to kind of scope it out. The leasing person wasn't there, so I just kind of went and looked. And so I looked at the building and I was like, this looks like a hotel to me. And I was like, well, whatever. I haven't seen the inside of the room. So I was able to finally get in touch with the leasing person. And so we set up a date for a tour. And so I went for the tour. And I mean, I was right. It is a converted hotel. Um, so it's like four floors. and I don't want to say it's in a touristy spot, but it's in an area where there are a lot of bars and restaurants. So obviously, people that come in, on business probably used to stay at that hotel because it's, close to everything, but it has since been converted into a an apartment building. One of the first things I noticed, and keep in mind this was still during the pandemic. I was double masked. I had an N95 and another mask on top of that. As soon as I entered the building, I could smell heavy cigarette smoke. Um, and there was a no smoking sign on the front door, so I was like, that's kind of weird. But I figured maybe it was still under, converting into the apartment complex. So it was going to take some time for the cigarette smoke to sort of clear. The room that was available for 800 a month was on the fourth floor. So we had to go all the way up to the fourth floor. Um, Unfortunately, the cigarette smell only got worse as we got higher up. So I was like, there's something going on here. We finally got into the room, and it's literally, a bed, I think it was like a twin bed or something in the middle of a small room, and a tiny kitchenette. There's no stove. I think there was a microwave and a sink, and then there was a bathroom with a shower. And I was like, okay, this is a hotel room. So they did let me know that they had a full kitchen on the first floor. In case I needed a full kitchen, they had two big refrigerators if I needed to store food in there. And it was like a full kitchen. I did see some of the people that lived in there. For the most part, it seemed like everybody was in their room. But I did catch a glimpse of some of the people that were residents there. And also to some of the people that were just wandering around outside around the building. So um, it, I guess to summarize, it looked like it was sort of, I want to say it was converted possibly, to accommodate the homelessness crisis that we're having here in Southern California. We are having some, we've had some issues with homelessness here. And I think this was probably one kind of strategic move in order to get people off the street. Because I did notice that there were a lot of homeless people that looked like they had substance abuse issues wandering around the building, as well as sort of like an RV encampment in the street behind the building. So I think this was something that was kind of set up to get a lot of these people off the street, particularly during a pandemic. But they were calling it affordable housing. So I did find out they do allow smoking. And so I kind of started putting the pieces together. And, typically, I know from experience and from people that I have known personally that some people with substance abuse issues can also be very, very heavy smokers. And so they're allowing smoking. I think it's almost like a compromise in order to keep these people off the street. So that was the housing option, probably the most realistic housing option that I have here in Southern California. Obviously, it's not the safest. Like I said, if there are a lot of people with substance abuse issues, it's both men and women. There are some disabled people with medical issues in there. People that are on oxygen, which, as you know, being on oxygen and being around smokers can be not the safest situation. But that's what's available to me at this moment. I do have an acquaintance who also has substance abuse issues, but he's a disabled veteran. And I think there is some priority given to people who are literally on the street, because I am technically not homeless. I do live in a house with my parents right now. But I think priority is given to someone who is on the street and also a veteran. They do tend to get a lot more benefits. And right now, this particular acquaintance of mine is living in a luxury apartment, I think in like West Hollywood somewhere. So, I don't have that option because I'm not a disabled veteran. I'm just a disabled person. Um, so, and I don't think I'm going to get the aid that I need unless I am actually out on the street, um, or in a homeless shelter, which right now with the current pandemic, it's a really, really, it's a very dangerous situation for me because I am unvaccinated. And so that, I have gone to homeless shelters. I have talked, to social workers about housing. And I think they kind of find it funny because I do have a house, a big house that I'm living in. Um, but I've described my housing situation, and, they don't really take you seriously unless they see you out on the street, living literally on the street, regardless of whether you have substance abuse issues or not. I feel almost like they're giving priority maybe to people that have substance abuse problems just to keep them from getting into trouble. Um, so, I have seen other chronically ill people in the same situation I'm in, people that are not in the best living situation, that are hoping to get out and find a place of their own, or at least a place where they can sort of live in peace. And this was sort of a rude awakening of sorts because I did not really, I was under the impression that I would qualify for an apartment if worse came to worse, um, because I have a certain amount of savings, and at least, the renter would be guaranteed I'd be there for a certain amount of time. And unfortunately, because of the credit score, I think they were concerned about whether um, I would make payments on time or something. But my credit score was not impacted by that. My credit score was impacted by the fact that I had zero debt, and I've had zero debt for, quite a few years now. Um, so that's what I'm being faced with. Like I said, my dad is finally going to retire this coming year. By the time you see this, he may already be retired. Um, and I will have a couple more years in California, based on what I know about the situation with my parents. But once they have the freedom to move out of California, I think they may be planning to move to Arizona, to the desert somewhere, which, I won't tolerate the climate very well, but also what's going to happen to my benefits. Because I will lose some benefits, and I might do a separate video talking about the different benefits that I have now and what may happen in the future, but also to my medication because I am currently on medication. And that's why I have been exploring other alternatives. If you've seen some of my other videos, I've been looking into stem cells and that kind of thing because I need something to either hold me up for a while until I can figure something out. Obviously, there's no cure for what I have, but I need something to sort of give me a boost so that I can sort of expand my options. I also made another video, it may have already gone up, it may not, about possibly leaving the country and moving somewhere else, which again, at this point, does not seem very realistic. Because I am on medication. It's almost like I am tied to California because my benefits are California specific. My doctors are in California. The pharmacy that provides the medication for me is here in California. This is a specialty pharmacy, so it's not like a pharmacy where you would get um, like pills like blood pressure medication or insulin. This is a specialty pharmacy, and because my doctors are here, they contract with pharmacies that are here in California as well. So I don't know what that would look like moving out of state. I may have to find other doctors, and I am concerned that I may lose the diagnosis that I have because it's a very complicated, very rare diagnosis, and it's very difficult to get prescribed the medication that I'm on. So I may move to another state, get all new doctors, and those doctors may decide, look, you don't have this, simply because it is very difficult to get the medication prescribed. So that those are other conversations that I need to have with my doctors. It's very difficult when you're chronically ill, because you are tied to your illness. And, right now I'm tied to treatment, and my treatment is here in California. And I don't know, I really honestly don't know what would happen if I went to a different state. I still get to keep my Medicare, right? I still have Medicare. Medicare is nationwide, and my Social Security benefits. But if I move to another state, what's going to happen? Will my doctor say, hey, I need to transfer your care to another physician out there? Or are they able to find another specialty pharmacy to provide the medication? I imagine that there are specialty pharmacies in every state, but again, doctors contract with specific pharmacies. So I imagine my care would have to be transferred over to another physician in another state, in which case that can be a bit of a complicated situation. So that's what I wanted to talk about as far as housing. I know that this wasn't too specific, talking about what types of housing is available for disabled people. It was more of a kind of story that I wanted to tell, kind of a scary story for me, because I didn't really know. I don't know much about public housing. I don't know much about Section 8 and affordable housing. And this is basically what's available. I mean, it's not even really available right now. They had one room. And, the housing situation here in California is not great, regardless of, whether you're disabled or not. So that's what I've got for you guys today. Let me know down below what state you're in and what the housing situation is there. I mean, I know there are other states that are a lot less expensive than California. But like I said, I'm tied to California because of my medical treatment. And until I can sort of cut those ties and take my, either drop my medication altogether, which is not happening right now, especially right now during the pandemic, unless I can do that, I really don't have the freedom to go anywhere else. So I've got a couple of years to think about it. So let me know your situation. Like and subscribe to my channel if you like what you're hearing here, and I will see you again soon. Take care.